Alright guys, we're back at it again with another video for you. Today we are installing the Cts-V BBK Kit on a Forte. We've kind of put this video off for a while. I'm not sure if we wanted to put this video out, but we finally decided, you know what, screw it. We've sold enough of these things, so we're just going to go ahead and show you the ins and outs of this install. We've been getting a lot of requests on this video for the brake upgrade on these guys. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of emails on what parts to get for this kit, where can you get this kit. So we're just going to make a video, screw it. So without getting too wordy with it, just let's put this sucker on there. All right guys, so getting into this, we're going to go ahead, so we're going to put every one of our kits come with front and rear stainless steel braided lines. So when we do this, if the whole system drains itself, we don't really care. So first thing we're going to do is just rip everything off of this. So brake line, caliper, rotors, everything off. We'll put all new everything on there, and we'll jump over the other side. Same thing, take everything off, put all new parts on there. We'll bleed all the fronts first, and then when we're done, because we're on an incline again, we'll jack up the rear, and then we'll put the rear lines on and bleed the final there. We probably won't get into the bleeding part on this video because we have a video that specifically tells you how to install lines and bleed them with the speed bleeders. Yeah, for the video for the brake line install, we'll put it in the description below. You guys can check that out. So right off the bat, the easiest thing I think to do is to get these little Phillips screws out of here. We won't reuse those, and I don't know if this is going to be a controversial deal or not, but from what I've always been told is that these little Phillips screws are used for manufacturing purposes. As the car's going down the line, they don't want the rotors wobbling around in there, so they just screw them in. Most performance stuff that I've used, we don't even use those. The caliper, wheel, everything is going to hold that on there. So. But what you guys want to do is get a Impact driver set. This is a Tekton tool. I've bought Harbor Freight ones. I've bought expensive ones. This one, for the price, I've had forever, and it's been pretty good. So the way this thing works is we're going to go ahead and find this bit that fits perfect in there. That one's a little skinny. There we go. And if you try to do this without one of these, you're going to strip them. You're going to end up having to drill them out. Complete pain in the butt. So this one, we're going to have a head. Oh, well, that one didn't even have to hammer it out. You got lucky on that. It's going to be another one of those videos that came out suspiciously easy. Let's see if that one comes out as easy. Oh, well, I guess on the Kia Fortes, you just need a screwdriver. Anyways, get one of these tools if you guys don't have one. We got it on Amazon. I don't think it was more than 15 bucks or something like that. So maybe we'll use it on the other side. So that's the first thing I like to do. Just next thing, what we can go ahead and do, since we're doing all new lines and everything, I think we'll just disconnect the line up here all off first, and then we're going to pull the whole caliper off with the bracket. I think it's a 14. I don't know, it's 17 millimeter. So 17 millimeter on the back. You guys don't need to remove these 12s. These guys. This is going to be a 12 to remove the bracket. And we'll just leave the line, everything on this when we pull it off. So first I'm going to do is take this bracket off. It's a 12 millimeter. Shouldn't be on there too tight. Yeah, there we go. Whoop. And this is not going to be reused again. So we'll have to figure out how we're going to route the line on the Forte. On the Veloster, it comes from back here, and we wrap it around the trunk of the strut. So we might actually just do something like that. I don't know. We'll play with it when we get there. When you guys do this upper brake line, just hit it with some brake cleaner. There's a lot of stuff that gets in the threads in there and gets all gummed up, so just get that out of the way. I like to use this little line wrench, it's called. It comes in a kit. It's also made by Tekton. Tekton is a Chinese company, but every tool that I've bought from them has been pretty quality, so I have no problem repping those dudes. So that's an 11, it doesn't even fit. Problem with that brand is they don't have an 11, so just go ahead and use this. Just be careful, if it binds up, don't strip it. So just go ahead and loosen that. So there's breaking loose there. So you can just get that loose in the meantime, and then we're gonna go ahead and get some needle nose pliers to get this clip off. You probably can't see it, but there's like a lip. I'll show you when I get it off. So we just kind of wiggle it out. Okay, so this is the little clip. Has a little lip there. You're gonna grab it with the pliers and kind of pull it off. If you grab it all the way on and then use two hands and kind of pull it off that way, it works good. You're gonna reuse these, so just hang on to that for now. And then to get the line out, it's just sitting in there. Look at, he's got all this shit built up back in there. So go ahead and unscrew this line all the way. Okay, so that slides up, and you just kind of pop this down through the hole. All right, and then just let it drain into the pan. And there's like a lot of gunk in there that you want to get all this off with a spray. You can see all the rocks that just, that's why we use brake cleaner in there at first, to try to get some of that out of the threads. So, and then you can just let that drip out for now. And I'll hit it with some spray again, get all the shit out of there. Okay, so now what we're gonna do, that location on these is, there we go. All right, so we got that dripping in the pan. Next up, we're just gonna pull this caliper off. Let me get some other gloves real quick. Okay. All right, next up, the 17 millimeters that hold the bracket. So the bracket and the caliper is coming off together. Depending on the car, some of these are really tight, some of them are not. I usually like put my wrench on there. And just kind of loosen it that way. So we'll loosen that one slightly, and then we're gonna reach down below. I know you guys can't see with the camera angle here, but just stick it on there, and same thing. The easiest thing to do is pull off the bottom one completely first. And then pull off the top after that. So we're not going to reuse these on this kit, so when you guys unscrew this top one, just put your hand under the caliper and put some pressure up. Help you unscrew this here so the weight's off the bolt. Again, not using that. And we just slide the whole thing down, and we're gonna hold that up in the air. So we'll pull that whole deal off, stick it in a box somewhere in case you guys want to sell it. We'll probably put the lines in a bag so it doesn't leak all over the place. And then from here, I go ahead and pull the old rotor off. If your rotor happens to be stuck on the hub, like a lot of guys have rust right here around the edges, go ahead and spray some PB Blaster or some kind of penetrating lube in here, and then you can hit with a hammer around the edge of here. If you don't have that, you can get like a dead blow hammer and try to hit around the edges. Don't ever strike the surface of the rotor if you plan on reusing it or selling it. If you put one dimple mark in there, it's done. So this one is a newer car, so it comes right off. So store those off to the side. Whoop, sorry. All right. Next thing we're gonna do, just go ahead and clean up everything with some brake clean. Just like to get everything tidy in there. All right. And now we'll go ahead and install the kit. It's relatively easy moving forward. So let me go grab the parts and we'll slap the new one on. All right, one thing I didn't mention was we do need to reuse the banjo bolt off the other caliper. These bolt right into the Cts-V calipers. So the next step on this whole thing is we're gonna go ahead and install a spacer that we provide behind the rotor. So on these, there's a taper on here, and then there's a groove cut out on the side. You want the groove facing in. The spacer will actually tell you wheel side, which in our situation is rotor side. And we're gonna go ahead and toss this rotor on. Now, with rotors, there's a big discussion on which way these fins are supposed to go. But it's not so much the way these grooves are, it's more so the vents in the rotor itself. On a rotor like this where you have vertical vents, it doesn't matter which way the rotor goes. You'll see on some like race rotors and stuff like that, or different brands, you'll have vents that come at an angle. That's when it kind of matters. So, but these that we provide, you can put them whatever way you fancy. So we just kind of put the rotor on there for now. It just sits like that. Again, we don't reuse any of this stuff. So next up, we're gonna go ahead and do is, this is a pre-assembled Cts-V caliper. We got our street pads in there. Everything's set up. We got our speed bleeders already on. Speed bleeders always face up, or the bleeders, and the hardware that we provide with the kit usually come in it already. So what we're gonna do is go ahead and slide this on the rotor, like so, and find the bolt holes in the back. So we get the first one hand tight. And I believe these are 17 millimeters. Yep, 17s. So go ahead and snug these up. And there is a torque rating on these, and I should tell you what it is, but I don't really know. Anytime I do brakes, I kind of do it by touch, by feel. So we'll get them snugged up with the ratchet, and then we'll hit it how we took it off with the mallet. We just kind of give it a couple taps with the mallet. These bolts that we give you have a lock washer on them, so they'll only go so tight. That's it. These don't need to be like crazy torqued on. I want to say, if anything, it's like 50 pounds at the most. That's it. All right, and then I always like to take a little visual in here, make sure we got a clearance from the rotor and everything looks good here. Sometimes on the little ears on your knuckle can get bent, so it's always good to make sure everything looks level and flush in there. So next up would be put the line on. One of those long ones. There you go. So on these, we're gonna have to kind of figure out how we want to do it. But for now, what we'll go ahead and do is we're going to slide this and just get the thread started on there. Okay, and then the line itself, let's see how we want to do this. Probably run it like this. And then we want to make sure when you put this banjo in, so go ahead and drop it through the top, and there's these little spacers or crush washers. Most guys will have a tizzy fit right now and say, oh, you need to replace those every time. You don't. Let's get back into this here. We had a little technical difficulty with one of the calipers, so he's got another one set up here. And let's go ahead and put this back in. So again, you have two crush washers. One goes on top, one goes on bottom. A little piece of fuzz in there we got to get out. I don't mean the police. Wah. All right, so it just screws right in like I said it would. All right, and this is a 12 millimeter. So I think we're gonna go ahead and set the line up like that, and we're gonna zip tie it to the housing there to keep it out of the way. It would be cool if we had a bracket that we can make to sit like this. It would be awesome. We might, so, but we'll play with that a little bit. And then 12 millimeter went. There she is. Now on the banjo bolt, you don't want to go crazy on the tightening, so we're just gonna go ahead and hold it, the line in place. I like to put the line on these ones straight back just to get it out of the way. You just want to crush it on there. That's it. You don't want to over tighten that. And then for the top part, we'll go ahead and tighten it down a little bit until it wants to spin on us. And then we'll put the C-clamp in and tighten it all the way. So just be gentle on this. We don't want to round out on any of the edges. If you do have a line plier, an 11 millimeter, go ahead and use it. Then we go ahead and slide this clamp right back in there. Get your mallet and hit it right into place. Boom, that's it. So we'll get our rag, we'll wipe it down a little bit. Give it a little shot of brake clean there, and then we'll go back to it and get it tight. That's it. So I'll go and see what kind of line. I might have some old K-Sport brackets that we can make a bracket for this to hold it here. If not, it's gonna get zip tied just like that. So that's that. So all we gotta do really at this point is bleed the caliper. We're gonna have some, for this one we're using OEM wheels, so it's gonna require a 20 millimeter spacer. I did it wrong. And these are hub-centric spacers. Our wheels, our factory hub and everything, we use a 67.1 millimeter hub-centric spacer is what you want. So that'll fit right on our hub and fit our factory wheel. Now let me go find out what size wrench this is. I think it's going to be a 19. So these are 19 millimeter. And get those snug on there, and then we're going to hit it with the Tekton Impact. We want these torqued down to about 90 pounds. You can get them to 90. All right, and there's your spacer. We just got to bleed the brake, mount the line, And that's your CtsV in a nutshell. So we'll get on the other side and get the other side worked out in a few minutes. Okay, getting onto this side, we're gonna kind of do things a little bit different, try it out. But first thing we always do is get these Phillips off. Okay, so, oh, that one came loose too. So we lucked out again. What you're really supposed to do with this tool is you put it on there and I like to give it some tension on the way it's going. You do that and it breaks it loose. That's what the tool's meant for. It's not just good for brake rotors. You can use this on any type of stud or anything that might be frozen. It works great. So, again, you'll get that in the description later. So I think what we're gonna do here is take the line off first, completely. So I'm gonna clean the threads off there, make it easier on yourself. And then we'll get our 11mm and crack this loose. So just wanna always crack this loose before you pull this clip off, otherwise you're gonna have a hell of a time. And again, if it's hard, just take your time. You don't want to strip this thing. And then if you strip it or something, you're in a whole world of shit. So don't do that. Just take your time. Alright, let's go ahead and pull this clip off. So you like to clamp it on there. And I like to use one hand to wiggle and one hand to pull. Clean that off while we're got it here. All right, then we'll go ahead and get the 12mm and we'll go ahead and pull the banjo bolt off this time. So this is what we're doing different on this side, is just take the, oh, you know what, let's get the bracket off first. My bad. That's tight. Okay. Kind of wiggling the line to help me unscrew the banjo bolt because it's slippery once it gets brake fluid on it. Okay, there's our banjo bolt. We're going to keep that. Just to get on our rag here. And then we'll go ahead and remove this line completely off. Okay, and there's our old line, and we'll go ahead and stick that in a biohazard bag, so you can store that however you want and not make too much of a mess. All right. And again, what we do is give it a little cleanup shot here, get all the gravel out of there and anything that's in the way. And then next up is pull the caliper off the car, which is your 17mm, 17mm wrench. Lefty loosey. Again, put pressure on the bottom of this whole unit to help you unscrew these easier. Okay. And we'll just twist this off. Yeah, these OEMs look good, still pretty new looking. And again, this pulls right off of there. Set this aside with the other one. And then just like the other side, I'm gonna go ahead and clean everything up a little bit. If you guys get buildup in here, you can go ahead and hit it with a steel brush, like any rust or anything like that. This car doesn't have any, so pretty clean. And then we'll clean everything up when we're completely done again. So now to just put everything back just like the other side, we'll put the kit on. So we'll go ahead and put our spacer on just like the other side. This is the supplied spacer that we give with the kit. And then we get our rotor on there. Just like that. And then we're going to go ahead and get the caliper on there. We'll just start the top one to hold it in there. While I remember, on these brakes are kind of neat because if you ever have to just swap the pads out, or let's say you're driving your car as a daily and you want to go to the track, put some track pads on for the day, or you're at the track, your track pads get low, you need to put new pads on. Everything you can access through the front of the caliper. You don't have to take anything off your brakes. You just remove these two pins that hold the pads in, and you can slide them right out the top. If you there's a tool that I'll put in this description below that basically is a pair of pliers that spreads the calipers apart. So you can do that all right here on the car. You just stick it in there, squeeze it like a pump. It'll spread the whole thing apart, slide your new pads in, put your pins back in, and you're done. So you can do a pad swap in this thing in like 10 minutes versus the old way. You have to take the caliper off and a bunch of crap. So it makes these brakes really nice to do. So let's go ahead and tighten these down. So next up, we get our line back on there, and we'll go ahead and stick this line in at the top, and we'll just get the thread started on here. It's nice and snug on there. We'll get our plastic deal out of there that just keeps garbage from getting in. And then again, we're gonna figure out, I think the best way is going to be this way. So we'll put the banjo bolt in, make sure the crush washer's on both sides again, and we're going to go ahead and put it in just like this. You can have the line facing this way, the hard line. You can face it straight out if you wanted to, however you guys want to mount these. So I'll go ahead and snug this up. That's it. And then we go up to the top again, and we're gonna get our 11mm and snug this up as much as we can. And this will slide into place. So we'll just snug it up. Okay, now it's snug. We're gonna put our clip back in before we actually tighten it all the way down. Loosen it a little bit. There we go. There we go. And we just hit this clip in with the mallet. And then we're going to go ahead and tighten this all the way. And we hit it with some brake cleaner again. Alright. And then we'll just stick our spacer on there and then we'll bleed the brakes. I know some of you guys are watching this going, oh my God, he doesn't torque those down. He only uses his impact wrench and now he's gonna snap a stud. I've been using this thing for 3 years now at the track every season, taking wheels off and on all day long. And I've come to the realization that this only torques it down to 90 pounds. I can't ever torque it more than 90. If a bolt's on tighter than 90, this stupid thing doesn't get past that. So I'm familiar with the tool. I know that this tool at its max is 90 pounds, just out of habit. So if you guys are doing this and don't have this or don't have the ability to know that, torque wrench on these, you want 90 pounds for the spacers on the car. Okay, and then when you put the wheels back on, you'll see that we do use the torque wrench, again, 90 pounds, and that's it. You don't need to go more than that. You could technically go anywhere from like 80 to 90. For a long time at the track, I was doing 85, and then so anywhere from 85 to 90 is about where I live. So take one more glance, make sure all the spacing is good, and it's good. The way that the offset is on these brakes is you're going to notice that if you look down into the caliper, it's not going to be 100% centered to the caliper as far as the rotor is concerned. It's going to sit a little bit more towards the inner side of the car. Just trying to find the rotors to fit this kit, the spacing, everything that we had to do to make this kit work. It's just, that was how it lived. We've done tons of these cars, and as far as balance on the brakes and all that stuff, no problems at all. So you won't get any weird pulling from one side to the other. We don't even get any weird pad wear with it set up this way. So the key is that you want the top to the bottom of the caliper itself completely level. If, like, say the bottom's kicked out a little bit or the top's kicked out a little bit, it's not completely level, that's when you're going to get a lot of weird brake chatter and some uneven wear on your pads. So when you're looking down at the back, you want to make sure you just see a straight line as far as the gap itself, not so much making it centered in the caliper on this particular setup. So just keep that in mind when you guys are doing it. And like I said, on the other side, sometimes on the knuckle, the two little ears where the bolts go in, sometimes those get hit or smacked, or whoever did your brake job, you never know. One ear can be tweaked out a little bit. If you get into a situation that you do find your caliper is tilted a little bit, what I've done in the past is actually hit it with my little mini sledge on the ear and massage them back into place. A little bit of controversy on that too, I'm sure, because if you bend the metal back, oh, you weaken the metal, it's just going to bend again, all your brakes are going to fail. I don't know if that's going to be the case. I've been doing it for 5-6 years like that, actually 20 years really, to be honest, doing adjustments like that, but 5 or 6 years in a race setup to where we do that on the race car itself. And you won't find any other braking that's harder than that at a racetrack, going from 130, 140 down to, you know, sometimes 30 miles an hour depending on the turn. If we have no trouble in those situations, on a street setup, you're never going to have a problem with that. So anyways, so what we'll do is we'll just mount these cables or the brake lines to the housings of the shocks, and then we'll go ahead and bleed these brakes, and we'll go from there. That's pretty much the whole install. It's really simple, but we'll go over the, if you actually, you know what, if you guys need to see the brake bleeding, go ahead and check out our other video, and like we said, we'll put it in the description. There's no real need to watch that again. We go pretty detailed in the last video on how to use the speed bleeders, how it works, all that good stuff is done on there. So, yeah, that's it. And then we'll hop over to the back on this car, put the lines on the back, and then we'll go test drive this thing. So we'll be right back after we get that done, and we'll go take it for a test drive. We'll show you guys how we bed the brakes in. And then that's another very controversial topic, because there's a million different ways to break in brakes, clutches, all that stuff. But we'll show you how we do it on the street cars and how we do it on our race cars. And you guys can banter and leave comments on that at the end. So we'll see you in a few minutes. We're going to do some 20-mile-an-hour pulls to dead stop, and then 40-mile-an-hour pulls to red stop. So we'll do a couple of 20s here, and to stop, and you'll go 20 again, to stop, break it in, and we'll do 40, hopefully we don't hit AJ here. Do 40, and then turn around and do another 40. Just another couple 40 runs we're going to do right here. Pretty good. Go up here and turn around, do another 40. And that's pretty much all there is to breaking it in. Then you just drive it normal. It should feel good and tight. So that's all there really is to doing this. Guys might have some fancier ways to do it or whatnot, but this is how I like to do it. Break it in a little bit more. I got a little aggressive there. I'm gonna go drive around. Alright guys, that's it for the video for today on the Cts-V brake kit install. If you guys like what you see and interested in the kit, we'll put a description in the, or a item in the description below. So you guys can purchase that from us. If you really want to do a DIY deal and do it yourself, there's a lot of information out there on how to do this. We just make it easier for you. All the products that we use in these kits are top-notch stuff that we've been using for 5 years in circuit racing. So none of it's from eBay or anything like that. So you can get cheaper kits out there from what our prices are on the website. But if you get anything cheaper, it's not going to last long. You're running into problems. So, but if you like the video, just like and subscribe to us, and we'd appreciate that. Any questions that you guys might have or comments or anything, leave them down below. Hit us up on Facebook, Instagram. We're on Facebook all the time. So, email, whatever your form of communication is, hit us up. We're at KDM Tuners everywhere. So. But yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and until the next time, we'll say like Jason Ellis says it, don't die. See you guys later.